Fear. It's one of the most intense feelings we have as humans. It can completely immobilize us, or it can cause us to be superhuman and confront intense situations. When we think about fear, we need to remember what's on the other side of fear, a euphoric feeling of accomplishment. Letting someone push you out of a plane is the easy part, because you've already reached the point of no return. Getting to this point is the hardest part, and what today's video is about. Whoa. Sometimes I still can't believe I did that. Did you like that intro? I wanted to make it intense. Because fears are intense, and fears are something that we need to overcome. And that's what this video is about. Welcome back. I'm John Saxon, and the goal of my videos are to help improve your life by 1% every day. So let's get into it. When I first had the idea of going skydiving, I immediately had this heart-pounding feeling in my chest, and then this voice in my head that said, "Don't do it, man, don't do it. That's crazy, don't do it." But that's a feeling all of us get, and it's a feeling that we have to learn to overcome. What do you do when you get that feeling and those voices in your head? Do you listen to them, or do you work to overcome them? Well, in this video, we're going to work to overcome them. And I have a 3-step method to turn our fears into accomplishments. And the 3 steps are acknowledge and knowledge. The second step is path and courage. And the last step is confidence. Confidence in yourself. All right, let's get into step 1. In step 1, I have to address the emotional and logic centers in my brain, because the first feelings I have are my emotions running wild. Don't do it. Don't jump out of that plane. But the acknowledge part of that is I have to acknowledge the fear. I have to give it space and time. I have to write it down on paper and make it real. I have to explain my emotions about skydiving. The next part in that is to give my logic center some space, my brain, and write it down. And this part of writing it down is doing research. Researching about the topic. Researching about skydiving. Because when you become comfortable with a topic, you're not so scared. So when I researched about skydiving, I Googled it. I look up how many deaths there are. And one study I found was that there's 1 in 100,000 deaths skydiving and 1 in 6,000 deaths in car accidents. The next thing I researched was about local versus remote. Should I go skydiving locally? Or should I go skydiving somewhere else? Well, here in Canada, we have a lot of snow in the wintertime, and so I researched that there's hundreds of jumps done per year at my local facility, where if I go down to Las Vegas, there's thousands of jumps per year. So from that aspect, I'd much rather go to Las Vegas. Then the next thing I do is to watch videos, watch YouTube videos on people jumping, get comfortable with seeing it over and over. So now that I've done a little bit of research, I feel better. I feel a little less scared about skydiving. And now I'm ready for step 2. Step 2 is about path and courage. Step 1 was all about introspection, and step 2 is about action. But one thing I need to remember is that step 2 is still baby steps. I need to plot a path of decision making that I need to do in order to get from deciding to jump out of a plane to jumping out of a plane, and the courage to do it. So the first part of that path is to call and book. And I was able to call and book, but if you're too scared in this same situation, maybe you ask a friend to call and book for you. But if you can just take the courage to ask the friend, then they can help take that step for you. Then I go through the other steps of the process and try to see how I can turn the path into a path of least resistance. Perhaps on the morning of, I pre-book the breakfast and pre-book a taxi so that I can get there without making any further decisions. They all show up in order to get to that jump center. And if you happen to be one of those obliger types, maybe it's best to ask a friend so that you can check in with them along the way. Say, I'm going to call you at this time, or you call me on the morning of and give me a pep talk. But one thing to remember is each step requires more courage from you. And the more steps you do, the more courage you will have, the better you will get at it. Which leads us to step 3. And step 3 is about confidence. Confidence for me to take that final step onto the plane. Step 3 in my head, I also call it, it's all you, baby. And I have to remember all the work that I've done leading up to this point. I've done research, I wrote out my emotions, I felt them through, I talked to friends, I booked a taxi, I booked breakfast. I'm ready to go. And in the end, I built up enough confidence to turn my fear into an accomplishment.
All right, my man, we did it. You did a really nice job. What'd you think?
This is fantastic.
Good rush?
Yes.
One of your favorites?
Yes,
All
definitely.
right.
In closing, I use jumping out of a plane because it's a pretty extreme example of how to overcome fear. But there are so many examples in everyday life, in home and at work, of fears that we need to overcome. And it's only through pushing past those initial emotions we have that lock us in our comfort zone that we grow as individuals to become 1% better than we were yesterday. And that enables us to show up better tomorrow. I challenge you during these crazy COVID times to go out there, conquer your fears, and turn those fears into a crazy long list of glowing accomplishments. If you don't mind, please like my video and subscribe to my channel so that I can continue to bring you content and help improve your life by 1% every day. See you in the next one.